Okay, we're ready now. I'm getting this. Okay, so anyway, I'm the Fire Fuels Mitigation Project Manager for a grant that Nancy was very, not lucky, very, I guess, intelligent for getting the grant. But we got a grant from the federal government called the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. And the grant is worth $2.4 million. With that grant, we are using that money to clean up a fuel load or all the fuel loads within the Somerset and Sierra Canyon area in the community. And so the purpose of this presentation is, number one, to go over what we did last year, just to kind of give you an idea of what we've done, and then to tell you what we're going to be doing this year, starting in October, so starting next month. I do want to make some quick introductions real quick. I'm going to go through and talk about what we have done and what we're going to do. And then the fire department is here. They're going to talk about what to do in case a real emergency happens, because it's not a matter of if a wildfire is going to occur, it's a matter of when it's going to occur. And if we're prepared and if the residents are prepared to get out safely. We've had a couple big ones, as you know, lately. We had the Gold Ranch fire, which I got a lot of phone calls with because a lot of people were fearful of that. And then we also had the Davis fire, which is down on the south side of town. Didn't affect us really, but it's just a reminder of how fast it can travel and how destructive it can be. So I'm going to introduce, first of all, Jerry Kosak. He's a division chief with the Reno Fire Department. Battalion chief. I'm sorry, what? Geez. I'm sorry. When you retire, your brain goes crazy. Sorry, Paul. I know, exactly. Jeez. Wait till I get to the fire guys. Those fire guys. Katie Walker, she is a fire inspector and fire investigator with the Reno Fire Department. And she's actually, it's good she's here because she was actually working as PIO on some of those incidents. And then we have another inspector here. I forgot your name. Lauren. She's new. She wasn't there when I was there, so my apologies. And again, I'm old. I have bad memory. And then I got the whole engine 19 or engine 11? 19 crew. And so that's your Somerset crew. They're the ones off of Hawk Meadow. So anyway, they'll be here to kind of see what we're doing, and then they'll be talking a little bit later, and they'll be here to answer any questions you may have on the operations side. And then, of course, I think most everybody here knows Nancy. I don't see anybody here from our wildfire, our committee, and then that's just me. So we'll get going. All right. So the Community Wildfire Defense Grant, there's several goals that we aim for with this grant. Number one is protect lives and property from wildfire. Number two is to increase your understanding and the public's understanding in other areas of living in a fire adaptive ecosystem. We do education events throughout the year to raise awareness about what you can do living in a wildland urban interface, which we do to protect yourselves. And we identify priority areas of hazardous fuels reduction. And that's the main part of this presentation today. I've gone through the Community Wildfire Protection Plan that we have, and that was made, I think it was back in 2017, and then updated more recently. We have identified priority areas of where we need to reduce fuel load and create fire breaks and fuel breaks based on topography, based on a majority of the winds we get, just to help protect the homes. And then we also have education throughout the year of other programs and tools that I'll talk about too, that residents can take advantage of to protect their homes. There we go. So some of the success objectives and metrics that we have for this grant. This grant is a minimum of 80 acres per year that we are planning on cleaning up. And I'll talk about what we've already done, but we plan on surpassing that. This grant was originally for a 5-year program. NDF wants us to finish it up in 4 years. So that's our goal, to finish up all these goals in 4 years. And then after we are done with the initial mitigation, we plan on putting a program in place for future maintenance, so it doesn't get out of control to the point where it was or is now. With this grant, we will create 6 fuel breaks, and I'll go over that a little bit later, what defines a fuel break and a fire break. Total acres will be, for herbicide treatment, is 40 acres. We've increased that to 50 acres. And when I'm talking about herbicide treatment, we can only do that in the fall. We'll be starting up here in October and November, possibly December, depending on how the weather goes. But we've identified certain areas where we will lay down pre-emergent. We don't like to use post-emergent. We have used post-emergent, but post-emergent's a little harder to control. The pre-emergent kills the seeds that we don't want, and that being cheatgrass and Medusa head. And that sits for a year, and then we can come back and reseed and replant with fire-resistant plants, which I'll talk about too. So total, and then we also have some monies to do some replacement on flammable vegetation, replace trees and so forth. Go through, and part of the other objectives that were in the grant were to get 300 volunteers trained for CERT. CERT is a community emergency response team. We have a class coming up in 2 weeks. If anybody here is interested to joining the CERT team, all the information is on both web pages. We have it on Somerset webpage, and then Sierra Canyon has it on theirs as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then also some little things we're going to include as well. Again, more presentations and working with other agencies on cleanup. Reno Fire Department, Truckee Meadows Fire Protection, U.S. Forest Service, BLM, and NV Energy. All right, so what's been done? So to date, we have surpassed this last year the 80 acres minimum requirement. We reduced fuel in 94 acres. We treated 33 acres in herbicide, and we have reseeded 18 acres. Most of the 18 acres we reseeded are behind you along the ridge on the park off of Dakota Ridge, and we did a little bit over here behind the clubhouse. We'll be increasing that here this year to 50 acres. So we hope to increase that, and I'll talk a little bit about the vegetation that we are replacing with. Back in November and December, we cleared approximately 22 acres south of Morgan Point Court and west of Painted Rock Trail. We've mulched the fire fuels with hand crews for the most part, and masticators where we can bring masticators in. In January, we cleared 5.77 acres on the slopes west of Dove Mountain and east of Harvest Hill, and 18 acres in the canyon right behind you, east of Morgan Point Court and north of Dakota Ridge Trail. In February, we cleared almost 17 acres in the area south of Sierra Canyon's Clubhouse and north of Tarleton Way and east of Del Webb Parkway. In March through May, in March, we created a fuel break. We established one along Gypsy Hill Drive based on the topography, clearing about 16.6 acres. In April, we added 6 acres to that fuel break. And in May, we treated the 22 acres in Gypsy Hill with pre-emergent spray. 12 acres of fuel reduction using a masticator and hand crews were completed along the East Del Webb Parkway, where it borders Sierra Canyon and Somerset. And then in June, we reduced 10 acres of fuel in the canyons east of Eagle Bend Trail. This was a priority 1 based on the topography, the CWPP, and where the cell and water towers are. We also cleared just under 3 acres east of Elk Run Trail and a little over 1 acre behind Bechtel Ridge Circle. And then the 10 acres that were cleared on Eagle Bend Trail, we did treat with post and pre-emergent. And we'll be working on that this next year with reseeding. So what's the plan for this year? Well, we're going to increase our acreage to over 100 acres. We're going to introduce goats to the mix. We're going to increase education and presentation, as well as CERT participation. And we hope to practice an evacuation plan in April or March, April or May. I need to correspond with the fire department for that, but we do plan on practicing that. And then we would like to change the AGC rules to correspond with upcoming city code changes. The city of Reno and the fire department is adopting a new code, and they're adopting the Wildland Urban Interface Code. And I will tell you a lot of what's required with both HOAs. They do not fit within that code. So we're going to change that so you're not, especially the new people, you're not putting in something that's not going to be allowed by city code. So we'll be working on that. And then we'll always be trying to provide new tools to the community to keep you safe. All right, so fuel mitigation. There's the question I always get is what do you mean by fuel mitigation? What are you doing to reduce the fuel load and to create fire breaks? And I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing. There's two things. Basically, there's a difference between a fire break and a fuel break. If you're looking at that picture right now, a fire break is basically taking a strip of land cleared all of vegetation down to mineral soil. So that top picture, number A, if you look at that little road there, that's considered a fire break. And we do have plans to create some fire breaks throughout the community. A fuel break is just where we basically we're creating little pockets of fuel, but we're separating that fuel. So when fire progresses, it progresses slowly, not quick. If you look at that top picture, you'll see over on your right side, you have dense brush. And then you'll see between the dense brush to the road, that's where it's been reduced. So for fire behavior, if you have a bush that's burning, it's going to take longer for that radiant heat to ignite the next bush. That's what you want. And that's what we're doing throughout the community. We're not clearing everything. We're not sending in mastication equipment and clearing a whole hillside. We can't do that. We'll have erosion problems, and we'll have problems with wildlife too. We don't want to do that. So what we're doing is we're reducing the field load. And that's what you'll be seeing the crews doing. They're going and they're reducing, they're cutting some bushes down to the ground, but they're leaving other bushes in place. They're creating ladder fuels. If you look at figure B on the trees, they're trimming the ladder fuels on the trees. So if a fire does get on the ground cover, it's not going to get up to a crowning fire on the trees there. That's what we're doing. Okay, so what we're doing in 2020 or this next year, starting in October, we're going to finish the areas that we were not able to finish this last year. We're applying pre-emergent along Elk Run, which we cleared about 30 feet along the fence lines on the backside, 30 to 100 feet. And so now we're going to treat it with pre-emergent. Gypsy Hill, there's several dead trees that were missed during the initial. So we're going to go through and clear all those dead trees. Chalk Ridge, we got most of it, but down in the canyons below, we did miss some items. I think it's Twin Eagles, but they're going to go back in there and clean that up a little bit. And then Scott Valley, we ran out of time. Summer came a little quick this year, and we didn't want to get mechanical equipment in there to spark a fire, so I pulled them out. We'll finish that up here in October. But Scott Valley, we have some pretty dense field loads we'll finish up. We're gonna go along Evening Rock Trail, and just so you understand, the top of the slides will have these little number systems. SOA stands for Somerset Owners Association. SC is Sierra Canyon. And then the 2-1, that all corresponds with the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. And this will be available on our webpage. And the Community Wildfire Protection Plan is also on our webpage. So if you want to get a little more in depth of what we're doing and why we're doing it, you can pull up the CWPP and correspond it with what we're doing here. And again, that's all available on the webpage. But we're going to clear 2 acres around Evening Rock Trail on the south side. That should start here in October, November. 2 acres along Forest Willow Trail, same area. Sierra Canyon, we're going to hit about 10 acres on the southwest side where the communication towers are. The communication towers are actually private property. We're not going to go in there, but we're going to make a barrier between there and the homes where it is owned by Sierra Canyon. And then that's a great area to put herbicide treatment along the fence line about 30 feet out, which is what we plan to do. And I know I've got a lot of questions from Somerset Sierra Canyon folks on, well, it's going to kill my plants. And it's not. That's the reason why we're using pre-emergent. Pre-emergent basically sits on the top of the ground and it kills fresh seeds that have just come in, like cheatgrass and Medusa head. If the roots are established, it's not going to hurt the plant at all. And so that's what we're doing. That's why we're using the pre-emergent. Sierra Canyon South, about 14 acres. This is basically where the Interstate 80 corridor starts. And then on the south side on the Sierra Canyon area. And this is a critical area. This was defined as a priority 1 area in the CWPP, just because you have a lot of human activity here, potential of fire. When you're looking at, how are you going to strategically prevent something? You're looking at the probability of ignition, and then you're looking at topography, how fast will a fire travel? And then you're also looking at the most common climate. And we all know we get a lot of winds up here. So we have winds, we have human interaction, and we have power lines in there too, which I'll talk about. And then 10 acres on the south side of Meridian Ranch. We're going to be treating that. We have a lot of Medusa head over in that area. That's an invasive weed. It dries out really quick, just like cheatgrass. So we're going to treat that first with herbicide, and then we're going to clear 10 acres there. And then on the west side of Sierra Canyon, trying to look at what street. Yeah, Del Webb Parkway West, and then we'll go up further, and I'll show you here. I did get permission from Stan Lucas to go onto their property. So we are going to do everything on this side of the property line and 10 feet on the other side of the property line to develop a pretty good reduced fuel load. Same thing here, going all the way up towards basically where the cliffs are starting to be built. And then we have some little pockets back in Somerset that were identified on the CWPP, mostly along the roadway of Somerset Parkway that we'll be hitting. But approximately 8 acres on Placerwood and West Logan Trail. And then this is your area. So this is where Somerset borders the Northgate, the old Northgate Golf Course. We have a fire access road here that serves as a secondary egress. Oh, good. But anyway, we're going to hit about 10 acres in here. We have a lot of dead vegetation that we need to remove in there too, some dead trees. So we'll be hitting that hopefully here in the fall. If not, then first thing, depending on weather, in March. And then this was a priority 1 area as well. And this is up off of Logan Ridge Trail, Pepperwood, Bristlewood, and Painted River. This is basically a chimney. It's a funneled canyon, south-facing slope, heavy, dense vegetation. And so we're going to send, this is going to be a combination effort with hand crews and goats. We're going to bring hand crews in a masticator to clear 30 feet around the each side of the fire access road. And then the goats are going to go into the canyon and create at least 100-foot fuel break going from the bottom all the way to the top side. This will be fun because this will be the first time we bring goats into Somerset. And I like goats. Right, Katie? I know, I like goats. These are cool goats too. I could go on and on about goats, but then we'll run out of time, so I'll stop. And then in approximately the same area, we're going to hit the canyon southeastern slope behind Maple Leaf and up along the top side there. And then we have some heavy growth between Chipshot Trail and Somerset Parkway. We have identified quite a bit of cheatgrass and Medusa head in there. So we're going to clean that up. And then we also have some opportunity for vegetation replacement. Along the golf course side, we have some trees that actually are Somerset, but they have grown into the fence line and over the fence line and touching vegetation on private resident homes. So we've identified a couple trees in that area we're going to remove and just clean it up a bit there. So our partnerships, I've been talking with NV Energy. They've been going through a transition. I had a promise from the last person that was in there to come and clean up the power lines. That person, I don't know if it was a promotion or just a move, left. So now there's a new person I've been in contact with, and I'm trying to get a schedule, but we're going to get the power lines cleaned up. They can clean up 200 to 300 feet out from the power lines. So we have a main line that comes in on the south side there on the I-80 corridor. And then we have a transmission line that comes into the ground right behind Del Webb Parkway West over here. And that's a really bad one. We have a lot of dead vegetation under that one. So we will be getting that cleaned up here pretty quick, or I should say NV Energy will be. I just don't have a schedule yet, but we'll get it done. And then the U.S. Forest Service owns a little island parcel on the south of Somerset and east of Sierra Canyon there. They cleaned about a 30-foot channel all the way around their square about 5 years ago. It's due again. They promised me they're going to do it this next year. So we should be seeing some cleanup with that property as well, a 30-foot line by the U.S. Forest Service. All right, so outreach and education. I've already gone to a lot of people's homes this last year. I think I've got over 50, and that is still available. If anybody here or if any of your neighbors, or if you have concern with any of your neighbors, talk to them and say, we offer a free home assessment. What that does is the home assessment, I'll go through, tell a resident or suggest to a resident ways they can clean up. Nothing, it's not required, but it's an educational approach to help protect their homes. We get a lot of people that are nervous, not necessarily about their homes, but their neighbor. And if you want your neighbor to get a home assessment, talk to them. I can't go in and just do a home assessment without their permission, but you can talk to them and tell them that's what we offer. It's free. It's part of the grant. And with that, they'll get a full page or a whole report from me through Nevada Division of Forestry. And that report can actually help them if they're shopping for insurance, if it's on a good scale. So that's one of the things we offer. What we're also looking at doing this year, these are some of the other things we've done too. So free vegetation disposal through the Reno Fire Department. They have a program that they got through a farmer's grant to supply dumpsters to people if they want to clean up vegetation, a vegetation-only dumpster. I believe it's still available, right, Katie? I know it was supposed to end in September, but I think it's still going. Yeah. And so if anybody here wants a free dumpster delivered on their street, they can do that. They just need to go to the Reno Fire Department webpage and ask for it. We've had events at Sierra Canyon and here at Somerset, very popular. They've been full every time where you've had 3 dumpsters delivered. And it's a great tool because these dumpsters cost $600, over $600 if you want to do it on your own. But if you get a street program or, talk to your neighbors, say, hey, I can get this dumpster for free if you guys want to clean up your home. It's a great opportunity. So that's one thing we do with the Reno Fire Department. The other things we are looking at, I am working with the Nevada Division of Forestry to get or to purchase at a discount seed mix. So we haven't put the whole program together yet, but it's coming. It'll be advertised on the webpage. But basically, if you can go out, anybody here in Somerset can go 30 feet past their property line to clean it up. They just need the Somerset homeowners approval. And it's a real easy process. You just go online, you fill out a little one-page thing asking for approval, and usually Nancy will stamp it and say, you bet, right? For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's some rules you have to follow. We don't want you using a chainsaw or a grinder or anything like that, especially in summer, but you can do that. You can do that on your own. If you do that, we're working on a program of offering seed free to you if you do that to replant it so the cheatgrass and Medusa head doesn't come back. And so right now we're in talks with NDF. I got the price quote. It was a little higher than I thought, but we're working on that. And this is what it looks like. So this is fire resistive plant. And when I say fire resistant, everything burns. It's going to burn, but this stays green, and you can see it in the mountains now, especially the buckwheat. If you look at the yellow part, the buckwheat, you can see it all over the place, but it stays green up till November. And then usually that's when our fire season ends. And so the whole point is to keep things green past the fire season so we don't have to worry so much. And this replaces the cheatgrass and the Medusa head that's out there. And what it does is if this establishes when the cheatgrass seeds blow in, they can't establish themselves. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to cover the ground with fire resistant plants that will keep the cheatgrass and the Medusa head out of here. This is the other part of the mix. These are different wheat grasses that we've mixed. And the stuff that we're reseeding after we go through and do our fuel mitigation, it's a combination of this, the wheat grasses, and some of the flour mix that you saw on the previous slide. The Community Emergency Response Team. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but again, this is a great program that's free. Right now, they have coming up October 10th, 11th, 12th, and 17, 18, 19. I'm actually going to be in that class, so if anybody wants to join me. But basically, if you become a CERT volunteer, what we're trying to do is get a Somerset-specific CERT team. And what that'll do is if we do have a wildfire event, earthquake event, anything, we'll have residents here that we can count on for help. And we'll have a box full of emergency supplies over at Ron's maintenance shop. Just seeing if he's listening, maybe. But if we can get our own team together that understands the nomenclature of emergency response, that would be extremely helpful, and have a team that we can call on to help if we need it. Reno, just so you know, I mean, we have the #1 fire department in the world. Reno Fire Department, absolutely. But the problem is, because of that and because of our location, there's only so many fire stations. And when our neighbors in California have a big event going on, or in Carson City or Sparks, it pulls our resources. So they're not always going to be there. And that's why it's important to have people that we can count on within our community to help out. And then other tasks we'll be working on. Evacuation plan has been established already. It is posted on the Somerset and Sierra Canyon webpage. So take a look at it. But we've identified all the escape routes, evacuation routes. We have a lot of signage we'll be doing this year to identify those and other items. And we'll be installing smoker stations at trailheads and parks. And part of the mitigation, we'll be working on trails as well, updating the trails. That actually creates a fire break. Excuse me. I'm getting off a chest cold, so my voice kind of fluctuates. But we got a lot of stuff going on, and you'll see it. You'll be able to see it. So with that, I would like to bring up somebody from fire. Katie, you want to take the lead? Jerry, sorry, Paul, I'm just teasing.
Okay. How Hi, everybody. I am Katie Walker. I am an investigator with Reno Fire Department. I also work in prevention. I was PIO on the Gold Ranch fire and also the Davis fire. So if you have questions about that, I can hopefully answer some for you guys. Oh, a public information officer. Yep. Sorry. Okay, so what we have up here is a wildland evacuation checklist. I'm hoping Trey can get everybody a copy that wants a copy of one.
So real quick, so what you're seeing here is evacuation checklist and the other slides. They are all available on the webpage. So this is part of the evacuation plan. If you go to the webpage and pull up, oh, I'm trying to think where it is. It's on, anyway, it's on there. And so, but it is available on both Sierra Canyon and Somerset webpage, the whole evacuation plan. And this is in there as well as communication plan and other tools that'll help you. So everything you see is available on the webpage.
So this is a pretty good checklist. Go through it before you need to evacuate. Know what's on it. Sometimes you're not going to have time to go through this checklist. So there's going to be different levels of evacuations. If you're in an immediate evacuation, just go. We're going to have resources that are coming in. You guys are going to be trying to get out. So the faster we can get people out, the faster we can get resources in to protect your properties. I think one of the biggest things on this checklist is have a go bag ready to go. There is a checklist at ready.gov. If people are interested, I can maybe send it to Trey and he can try to get it to you guys of things to have packed in that. Always just kind of have that ready to go. You never know if you're going to have 5 minutes to get out and you could be out. The people in Davis at the Davis Creek were out for a week. So you kind of want to be able to, you want your medications, you want your pet food, kind of those critical items. This is your guys' evacuation routes. So it sounds like Trey said there's going to be signage and a test or a.
Yeah, so these are the three main exit points out of Somerset. So you can exit out of Beaumont Parkway, you have your exit to Mayan, and then your exit through Del Webb down to I-80. And this is on the evacuation plan. If you look at the evacuation plan, it'll have zones of different areas, closer zones with where the location of your emergency, the gated emergency roads are, the 2 ways out of pretty much every zone except for one. But it's all on the evacuation plan. And I didn't want to go through each zone here because I'm not sure where everybody is. They don't want to waste a lot of time. But again, pull it up on the webpage. And if you have any questions, you can always send me a quick email.
How do we know we need to evacuate?
That's a good question. That's coming up. And so go ahead.
I think I'll just go. Okay, so this is kind of the ways that the community has set up to let you guys know that you're going to be evacuated. So you have your emergency alert that'll come over the radio and on your TVs. You also have sometimes like your cell phones will go off if you're programmed for a certain area and just kind of give you a warning. You can also sign up for reverse dials. So basically it's kind of like a reverse 911 where they can call you and they'll just send you guys a pre-recorded emergency evacuation. You can also sign up with code RED to get an email. And social media is going to be huge, especially if an incident has already started and you weren't evacuated immediately. Keep up to date on social media because that's where we're going to post immediate evacuation zones as they progress. So that's a pretty big one. Also, if it's something immediate, you're going to have RPD, you're going to have firefighters, you're going to have your CERT team coming through the neighborhood, doing announcements and knocking on doors. So if you find out that you're getting evacuated, check on your neighbors, make sure that they know that it's time to go as well. So it's kind of a whole community thing. And then this one. So then, yeah, during an evacuation, we're going to try to get you guys as much information as we can. It's usually constantly progressing. So like I said, if you get the evacuation notice, just go. Get out as soon as you can. During the fire, so people who are PIOs are going to be trying to get you guys information as quickly as we can, but we want to make sure that information is accurate. So sometimes it takes a little longer, and I know that can be frustrating, but we know you guys want that information, and we're trying really hard to get that to you. A lot of it is going to go out over social media. So I know not everybody has social media, but if you can try to get with somebody, during the Davis fire, we had a lot of residents who didn't have social media, but their kids were watching it for them and kind of relaying all the information for them. That's why it's also important to make sure in your go bag is your phone charger, because that's kind of going to be your lifeline, and that's where you're going to get the most updates. And then after the fire, you're going to get, the news is going to be posting, everyone's allowed back in. We're going to be posting it on social media. There's an app called Watch Duty, and they're pretty good about being very quick about updating that. So that's a good place to watch to see where the evacuation zones have been lifted.
Say that one again, that one's been very good for us in West Fargo. These guys may not have caught just the name of that app again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's called Watch Duty. Yep. Yeah, they're really good. And there are people, so Watch Duty is not really run by an organization. It's kind of run by the community. So as people are finding information on social media, they're typically posting it into like the update section on Watch Duty. So that really helps. You just click on it'll show a little fire symbol. You can click on that for the location, and all the updates are going to be on there. Okay, any questions?
Where do you sign up for these different things like the first 911 and things like that? We're new to the map. so-
Okay. Yes. Yep, I'm just touching stuff. Do you know the answer to that?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Where to sign up for Code Red?
Oh, yeah, so there is if you go to the webpage and pull up the evacuation plan, there is a section in there, it's in blue. You click on that and it'll take you right to the webpage. And then you just sign up there. It's through the county, Washoe County. It's on the Somerset webpage, and it should be Sierra Canyon too. They posted the same document. So just pull up the Somerset evacuation plan. It's about 3 or 4 pages in, but it's there. And also on that same page, on the evacuation plan, is a whole bunch of other web pages like perimetermap.com and a bunch of other pages, Nevada State Fire, that'll give you updated information as well. But the one Katie told you about is probably the best one because it updates pretty quick. And when you talk about social media, you're talking like X, right?
Facebook is big.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay. Yeah, so I'm technically challenged. I'm going to hand this to Katie.
So depending on who is in charge of the fire, so for the Gold Ranch, Chucky Meadows and Reno were both in charge. So we were trying to keep it on, the Reno Fire Department was posting and the city of Reno was posting, but Chucky Meadows was sharing our posts. For the Davis fire, it was a Forest Service. So Forest Service was posting things on Facebook and we were all sharing. So you can probably just I would just go to the Reno Fire Department page. We're going to be sharing things as up to date as we can. We have a whole comms team at our city who are on it. I was in contact with them the whole time on both fires. So if the second I knew an update was coming, I let them know and they were immediately sharing it on our pages. So, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Christine.
Trey, first of all, I apologize about this late. You may have discussed this already, but when you were commenting that we can have, that we can apply to clean up some property near our property that is Somerset HOA property.
Yes.
That's nice to know, but I was wondering, is there not, I back up right to some Somerset HOA property that is full of dry brush, and I would like to have somebody from Somerset.
So what I will tell you, so everything's priority, right? And so money is limited. And what this grant is covering is the priority list. And so, and that was defined by the wildfire protection plan. So with this grant, we've identified all the priority areas based on that, based on topography, based on basically probability. But there are other areas in Somerset that are not on the list that we will not get to this year. And that, a resident has the power to go out 30 feet. And the same is with the city ordinance, anybody in the city, if they get permission from the city, can go out and clean it up. I understand that Somerset should be cleaning it up. It's just, we'll go ahead and see.
Yeah, I'll ask that. We get that question a lot.
Nancy.
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 We get that question a lot, that people say, oh, I want to have to clean up the behind my neighbor and behind my house. And it's reasonable to think there's weeds outside of my house, or there's fuel, we want every parcel clean.
But that's not how the fire works. The fire, we address fire fuel mitigation based on how a fire is going to behave. Because the fire, if it gets to your house, that's the last place we're really worried about at the beginning. We're going to address the fire fuels where the fire starts. And that's where all the money and all the focus is. How does a fire behave? Where does it start? What kind of fuels is it interested in? How does it carry up through those canyons when you were talking about where the goats are going to be? Those canyons create like chimneys, they call them. And so it creates a fire it exacerbates the problem. Right behind your house, there's no way to clear everybody's parcel behind their home. So the board said, you know, we'll let everybody do it up to 30 feet behind their own home, to clean as much as you want, do whatever. They never used to do that before. Go ahead and reduce any fuel. If the grant funds are available for extra cleaning, yes. But first, it's going to be everything that the professionals have figured out. That's the priority based on fire behavior.
Is there a list somewhere, on what areas?
He went through the whole list. So it's all going to be on the website. This exact presentation, but similar, is going to be repeated again at Sierra Canyon. But everything is on the website, on the homepage. Click it. It's right there, big fire image.
If you send me an email of your address, I will let you know if it's on the master plan, within the grant. But okay, you're welcome. Do you have my email? It's very easy, Trey@somerset.com.
And it's spelled
TRAY. Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
The little pond that's down here between holes 8 and 9 is becoming increasingly full of those, whatever those things are called with the brown.
Catstills?
Yeah, those things.
Yeah.
Is that considered fire danger?
No. So, and we actually, that's a good question, because we do get that a lot, the test.
Repeat the question.
So the question was, do the Catskills and all the heavy growth around the ponds and the irrigation canals areas, does that really, is that a fire hazard or a problem? And the reality is no. And I say that because everything burns, remember, everything burns. That's my catch-all. But if it's green, it doesn't burn that easy. And everything by the pond is green. And so it doesn't burn that easy. Willows are extremely hard to burn. When I did fire investigation many moons ago, I remember I got called to a Jeep fire that was burnt to the ground. It was exposed metal. This guy had stole it. He ran it into willows in an irrigation ditch and he burned it. And the willows were fine. The Jeep burned over 1800 degrees, but the willows were fine. And so, and we're not really worried about that, because even if it did burn, it's well far enough away from the homes. Remember, we have a limited amount of money, so we're only focusing on the priority areas, and the priority areas is the fuel load by the houses. And based on topography and where it faces the sun, is do we go 30 feet or 100 feet? That's what determines that. But the green stuff, we're not really worried about. And again, we're only worried about the stuff that's close to the home, and buying time for our fire department to get there. That's what we're trying to do. Yes.
If you go out, as residents go out and 30 feet behind their homes.
Yes.
What's the best next step? I'm going to show 5 or 6 types of plants that we get seeds for.
Yeah, so again, that's a program we're working on. We're hoping to get that seeding in place. I'm pretty confident we will. It's just we're working the price. But yeah, if people were to clear the brush or reduce the fuel load in that 30-foot area, the idea is I'll come out and verify And once I verify, we can give you the seed to plant with directions and so forth of how to do it the right way. That is a really good question. We're limited on the fall. So basically there's two things we can only do in the fall to be successful and efficient. The pre-emergent before the ground freezes and the seeding before the ground freezes. So we want to get the pre-emergent down this year in the fall so it can sit and then dissipate so we can replant next fall. Because the seeds, unless you can water them, you can plant anytime if you can water them. But if you can't water them, we got to do it right before winter to get the water load. You're welcome. Yes.
You have any industry discounts that you negotiate for hardening films like resistant roof vents, anything like that?
For what? I'm sorry.
Like resistant roof vents for
Not yet. I will tell you though, most of the home assessments I've been doing, all the houses that I've done so far in Del Webb and Somerset are built to WildM urban interface code, meaning that the screens are less than 1/8 of an inch on the vents, stucco tile construction on the roof, and double pane windows. A large part of what's required for fire protection in Owui has already been done with the current construction. So we haven't really had an urgency to go out and try to get bidding for the self-closed vents and that kind of thing. But if you do, email me and I can see what I can do because we do have several connections through the state. Oh, yes. So see, wait, I could talk about goats all night. I love goats, right, Katie? I herded goats with a fire. Yeah, you can, but you got to talk to Jose. He's the goat herder that lives in the trailer. If we get this particular company to come out. Now, the goats we're looking at they're Spanish goats. It's a Spanish goat variety, and they're different than other goats in the sense that, well, number one, if you can do sheep, but sheep can only eat green vegetation. So you're limited to basically April, March and April to have sheep, maybe a little bit of May. The Spanish goat variety eats dead stuff too. They eat green and dead. They eat anything. And they tend to be, for some reason, they tend to be a little more thorough with the invasive weeds. The thistle, the alien purpley things that grow and they're all spiny. They're everywhere here, but they eat that. And they eat the Medusa head, they eat the cheatgrass, and they eat it, they eat everything, but they specifically like the bad stuff. The Spanish goat variety has 3 stomachs. And so when they ingest that, whatever they eat, especially the cheatgrass, which is our big concern, the acid in their stomach will kill the germination process. So, well, I'll say it, when a goat poops, it's not going to grow cheatgrass. And so it's a really good breed to use. Other goats and sheep, they don't have that. I mean, that's how cheatgrass spread through cows. Cow grazing back in the old days, that's how the cheatgrass got so bad. So goats are very good. Plus, they're cheaper than hand mitigation. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. That was the question. Sorry. So I told you start goats, and I go on and no, yes. What they'll do is they have when they come and set the goats up, there's usually about 200. They'll set them up with a little electrified fence. That's where they stay overnight. And they have sheepdogs and a Great Pyrenees that overlooks the sheepdogs. And then they'll also set up a little electrified fence of the areas they're going to hit that day, which typically is about 1 acre a day. And then they herd the goats through that area. But so the short answer would have been, yes, electrified fence keeps them in. Anything else? Well, thank you. This is fun. And I really enjoy, as you all know, I am a resident of Somerset, so I do care about this place a lot. And I've met a lot of good people. And And, you know, it takes more than just one person. It takes everybody to do their part. And if one person cleans up their house, that's one less house these guys have to worry about. And so thank you for coming. Yes.
You've, idea of you guys?
The what?
Oh, yeah, engine 19. You guys want to go say hello?
Yeah, come say,
Yeah.
Oh.
Come on. I can't believe he's shy. He's afraid I'm going to call him Jerry too.
I know, probably you call me Jerry. I don't know how to use one of those things anyways. We're engine 19. I'm actually not your normal captain. He's off today. I think he went on a wildland assignment, so I'm backfilling for him. This is a fill-in. This is your paramedic for the day, Lucas Lovell. This is Mr. Hammond. He's our operator, and that's Mr. Keevan. He's our other firefighter. Hammond and Keevan are pretty regular up there. I'm sorry.
Glad to have you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being around.
You bet. And now tonight, though, you have to expect an extended response with all the construction going in, depending on where you're at. Sometimes we got to make, like just to get here, we got to go way out and around. So let's keep everything quiet for the next day or two, and then we'll be good to go. We'll have smooth sailing roads.
I want to thank you for the daily wake up that I get, because I run the community garden across the street from you. And the siren and the horn test really makes my day. But no kidding, you'd be surprised how many kids in the park really get a hoot out of that. You probably didn't know about that, but there's kids in the park above you every day, and the guys giggle all the time. So that's great.
Well, that's Mr. Hammond right there.
They do the test of the morning, the siren and stuff, and the kids are going, oh, listen, there it is.
If you have any paramedic questions, Lucas would be glad to answer.
Stuck up here.
I go all around the city. I float around.
Do you guys do smoke tests? Like if I've got a smoke alarm issue, who can I call? I don't even know, who would I call if I have a smoke alarm issue?
You're probably gonna want to call a handyman or to come out and change them. The thing is, change your batteries twice a year with changes of the clock. And then on the back of your smoke detector, they do have expiration dates. And so
I just replaced all of my smoke detectors. They're wires. And then one of them, for whatever reason, just started beeping and beeping and beeping, and no matter what I did, it couldn't get stopped. So I thought it just disconnected it. And then I didn't know who to call, so.
yeah, probably handy. There's a good, sometimes you just get a bad one, take it back, or maybe you didn't have it seated good enough, possibly. Just taking guesses. I'm not a perfect.
So they have about 10-year life. Yeah. And the newer ones have a built-in battery that you need to change. So they're a little more expensive, but you don't have to change the batteries. So if you look on the back of the smoke detector, it'll say when it was manufactured, and you have about 10 years.
Well, that's why I replaced all mine, because mine are all about 18 years old.
Yep,
That's good.
I replaced mine.
right on.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
You bet.
Thank you very much.